Hi Stitchy friends, my name is Barb. I am Stitch Brat here on YouTube on my Flosstube channel and also over on Instagram. If you would like to follow me there, I'm pretty active and post pretty often. Today is Saturday, May 10th, 2025, about I guess 10 o'clock in the morning. I am coming to you again from my sun porch, which is one of my favorite places to stitch, and I had kind of hoped to give you a better background than what I've got, but there's a lot of glare because there's windows all around, so I had to sort of place it where I could actually see the iPad. So sorry you don't have a great view. It's been a number of months since I've made a floss tube, and you know, no excuses. It just one of those things, but I'm hoping to get back into it and get a regular schedule. But because it's been a while, I think since around the end of last year of 2024, I have a lot to show you. And really this is going to end up probably being more like a mini WIP Parade than anything else, because I've worked on so many things during those like 5 months. But also I have several finishes to show you too. So I'm excited about that. In fact, because it's been so long, I have more finishes than what I would normally have. So let's just jump in and get started. So I thought I would go ahead. I do have new starts too, but my plan is I've just got all my WIPs in my crate, my wooden crate, and as I get to them, if I think it was a new start, I will just mention that it was a new start. I did have a few. I'm not sure how many since I filmed last. So let's just get to the finishes. I don't have some of my stuff with me down here. I didn't bring my board and some other things, so hopefully. I love the natural lighting down here. It works great, but we'll see how it works for showing things. Sometimes it's not so great. Okay, so my first finish that I want to show you is, this is called Soup of the Day, and this is a pattern from ohmystitches shop on Etsy, and she has a lot of really fun wreath patterns with fun sayings and some a little more snarky. Here it is a little closer. I'm a wine lover, so this is going to hang in my kitchen or somewhere in that breakfast area, and I am going to frame this one myself. I did just find a frame, and it actually just came in last week, I think, so I just have to find the time to frame it. It's not big, so it should be okay. This was stitched on just kind of a piece of linen I had in my stash that's kind of a cream or off-white, and I used, I think, all of the called for colors. I might have substituted one of the greens because there wasn't enough difference between it and another green, but other than that, I think I used all the called for colors. Love that. It's kind of a fun thing. Okay. And then you may, if you've watched me before, you may remember that I was working on all last year a Carolyn Manning stitch along, which was called the Star Touched Meadow stitch along. And my goal was I was doing 1 block per month to get it done by the end of December of last year, and I did get it finished. So here is my finished Star Touched Meadow stitch along piece. See if I can move that back just a little bit. I really love how this turned out. It looks great on camera. As you can see, there's 12 blocks, and they start here with January and go across, and the blocks represent the colors of a flower that represents each month. So I think January was carnation, and I don't remember the other ones, but you can see that they go across in rows. And they all just look great together. And this was, it kind of looks white on camera, but it's actually stitched on pale pink Aida 18 count. And I used 2 strands of floss over 1 Aida square, and I used all the called for colors. And I'll just come in and a little closer so you can just see some of those blocks. I have lots of pictures of this on my Instagram if you're interested. As I finished each block each month, I would post it, and it was really a great project. And in fact, I liked it so much that I created sort of a similar project for myself for the next year or year and a half. So stay tuned. That will be coming up and you'll see that. Okay, next. Okay, this was my blessing sampler for this year, and I'd never done a blessing sampler before, but I wanted to do one. And a blessing sampler, if you don't know, is, a sampler that you start and finish in January, and it's supposed to bring you blessings throughout the coming year. So who wouldn't want that, right? And I wanted to do one last year when I first found out about it, and I didn't. So this year I made sure to do one. So here's my blessing sampler that I started and finished in January of this year. And this is on, I believe this is on 32 count, and antique white Zweigart linen, I think is all this is. And this is a JBW Designs pattern, Judy Whitman. It's called Rose Motif Sampler. And here's a little bit closer. And I stitched this with one color of, I believe it's Weeks Dye Works floss, and the color is Romance. And it's a really pretty variegated pink. It doesn't have a ton of variegation, but I'm not sure how much it shows up there, but it's really beautiful. And in fact, I love the color of pink, but it just looks great on here. And I just think this is the cutest little sampler. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. It is small. It was a good size for the 1 month challenge thing. But I would like to finish that in some way because it's really very pretty. All right, and I have my coffee, so I hope you don't mind if I make sipping noises. I try to be as quiet as possible, but you know, the problem is you have this microphone right here, and of course you take this was, I think besides my blessing sampler, this was my first big finish in 2025. I finished this, I think, in February. And this is, here, I'll make this my screenshot. How do I better do it like this. Okay. This is Please Be Home for Christmas, and this is one of the shooting star patterns from Carolyn Manning. And if you follow me here or on Instagram, you know she's one of my favorite designers, if not my favorite designer, and I have many of her patterns going. And this particular collection is my favorite. I just love all, the quilt effect, and I love all the colorways she's got. This is obviously sort of Victorian colors, the Christmas colors, but those dark reds and dark greens, really, really pretty. And this is on a 32 count light green Lugana. And I used all the called for colors, and it's stitched 2 threads over 2 Lugana threads. And I think in 2024 I did not finish any shooting star designs, although I have probably like 10 on the go. And it really upset me that I didn't even finish one last year. So I wanted to make sure I got at least one this year, and I'm hoping for 2. So, okay, and this is my most recent finish and my last finish. This is another Carolyn Manning pattern. This is called Susan. And this was a fundraiser on Carolyn Manning's website. She designed this pattern in honor of a friend of hers who passed away from cancer. And I originally bought the pattern. You know, she's my favorite designer. I wanted to support her. But I did decide to stitch it because my own mom passed away from cancer many years ago. And, you know, I've often looked for a pattern to stitch in her honor, and I could never find the right thing, so I decided to stitch this. And I was originally going to put her name on it somewhere, but being the kind of mandala type pattern it is, it didn't really suit itself to that. So I think I'm just, when I have it framed, I'm going to put information on the back about my mom and that I stitched this for her, or in her memory. So I'm so pleased that I really love this pattern too. I think it's beautiful, and I think this is part now of her, like, it's like garden series or something. She has a whole collection on her site and of this type of pattern, and they're really a lot. I have several of them going. They're really pretty. So this is on an 18 count Aida, and I think the color is called Rustico, Rustico. It's kind of that oatmeal color with slubs in it, like that, but it's a little bit darker than the regular oatmeal. And I used that really because I just had it in my stash. And I kind of just wanted to get started and didn't want to make a big production out of it. So I think that's how I ended up using that for that. But I like Aida for those designs. I don't know, it ends up looking really nice. Okay, that's my finishes. I have quite a few WIPs. Like I said, it's almost going to be like a mini WIP parade. I have so many that I've worked on. So I'm just going to get going, and I'm going to try to not talk too much about each one, although that always seems to be challenging for me. I tend to be a talker. So, because I don't want this to go too long. So let's see, what shall I start out with here? Okay, well, what the heck? Let's start out with another Carolyn Manning Shooting Star. And some of these I have pictures of, and some of them I don't. Where I don't, I will pop them in. Okay, so this is one I do not have a picture of. This is called Avocado Toast, and I'll put a picture in here. And as I said, this is from the Shooting Star collection. I started this, I think, I don't know, sometime late in the fall of 2024, I believe. I don't really have anything going right now that has a lot of greens or browns in it, and the colors in this are just really pretty. I'm stitching this on a 32 count Lugana that I got from a shop on Etsy that's called My Vintage Needle Arts, I believe. And the color of this fabric is gingerbread. That's what it's called. But I have to say, I don't really think it's all that gingerbready. To me, gingerbread has a more warm tone underneath, or maybe a more gingery, reddish tone underneath, and this doesn't. However, it works great for this pattern. So there's modeling in it. It's really pretty. Really like it a lot. Again, I'm stitching over 2 over 2, and using all the called for colors. And I did not unzip any of my bags ahead of time, so I hope I'm not too noisy. Okay, what's this one? Okay, another Shooting Star. This is Arctic Blast. Put a picture in here. This is actually a free pattern. And all you need to do to get it, you need to be a member of Carolyn Manning's Facebook group. And then I'm not sure where it is in the group. For some reason it isn't in the files, but I don't know, if you search the post, I think it's pretty easy to find, or maybe it's a pinned post, but it's from a couple years ago. But it's still available. And here's where I am on it. This one I actually did, this is actually a couple years old. I should be way farther along than this, but I'm not. I don't know why. I really like this one. And it's somewhat different than some of her other shooting stars because it has some different shapes in it. But love the icy winter colors in this. And this is on 32 count Silver Moon Lugana by Zweigart. And again, I'm using the called for colors. I need to, I don't know, for some reason, I don't pull that one out as much as a lot of my other ones. All right, I'm going to hang on to that one for a minute. Okay, this one is a new start since I saw you last. And this one I do have a picture of. This is from Autumn Lane Designs. This is called Woodland Santa. Love this pattern. And I actually started this at a retreat I went to last fall. And the reason well, it's always fun to have a new start at a retreat, right? But there was a kit exchange at this retreat, and I actually won all this, or, you know, in the kit exchange, I mean, I got all this. I got the pattern, all the DMC flosses, linen, like everything. And it's a great pattern. I had never done an Autumn Lane pattern before, and I'd wanted to, so I started it. And it was graciously and generously put together by Kenny the Stitcher, who he has a Flosstube, and he's also on Instagram, and I'm sure you're familiar with him. Male stitchers in particular, because there's not so many of them, tend to be pretty well known. So I was thrilled with that, with what I got in the kit exchange, and I decided to start it right away. So here's where I am. This just uses DMC colors, I believe. And this, I think, is 32 count linen, and I'm stitching it over 2 threads. And the linen is kind of a blue-green, maybe a little more green than blue. It's beautiful. There's a lot of stitching in that pattern, though. You know, it's pretty solid stitching, but love that. I guess with that kit exchange, I had kind of taken that to mean, like, I guess it didn't occur to me that it could mean something you kitted yourself, and because I used a kit that I had that I decided I wasn't going to stitch, which, you know, was perfectly fine, but this sort of opened up a new world of possibilities once I started thinking about it. Okay, here's another new start, and this is Carolyn Manning. This is not a shooting star, but a broken star from her Broken Star collection. And this is called Ribbon Candy, and I'll put a picture up here. I started this with my friend Karla, Stitch Me Sane. She does have some floss tubes up, although she hasn't made one in a while. You need to make one, Karla. I know you're busy, but you can do it. And she's also on Instagram. And I've had this pattern in my stash for a long time, and I think she bought it at a sale or something, and I mentioned I had it, so I don't know, somehow she manages to talk me into starting things that I don't have any intention of starting. So, but I did have this kitted up, so I guess I did intend to start it. But here it is. This is Ribbon Candy. I'll come in closer so you can see. It's very bright colors, as you can see. And this is actually, I think, on the same light green Lugana that I stitched Please Be Home for Christmas on. And I actually stopped working on this for a little while because I wasn't sure that I liked the bright colors against this particular shade of green. But as you can see, there are some lighter greens in there. And once I got more colors in there, I actually really like it a lot. Karla's doing hers on bright red, and it looks fantastic. So, I mean, my thought was, gee, maybe I should go brighter, but I'm happy with this. I decided, so I'm continuing with it. I can't remember exactly when we started that. Maybe the first of the, I think the first of the year. This might have been my first start this year. Okay. Next is my one and only Mill Hill kit. And I do have a picture of this. Okay, this is Floral Fantasy. And this is a Debbie Mum design. And this is yellow, floral yellow number 2. There's a floral yellow number 1. And there's a floral blue 1 and 2, I think, also by Debbie Mum. Unlike a lot of Mill Hill kits, well, first of all, this is bigger. It's around, I think, 8 by 8 inches. And also, it's on Aida, not on perforated paper, and it has a combination of cross stitch and beads. There's quite a few beads, as is usual in a Mill Hill kit, but there's also quite a lot of cross stitching on it. Boy, my throat is dry for some reason this morning. And here is where I am on that. So this is on pale yellow Aida, 14 count, I believe, in the kit. So I'm just using all the kit materials. And this is the edge. So I think they give you a fair amount of fabric, which is nice. And I think I'm just a little ways from the bottom edge with that green flower. It goes down maybe another inch or 2. So there's good margins on this. I've only put in cross stitches so far. I'm leaving the beading until the end, or I don't know, maybe not till the end, but I haven't started it yet. I just think this is so pretty. And I'll just take out my little, I'm not going to take these out of the bag, but sorry for the glare, but here's the flosses. It's awful. I'm sorry. I should take them out, but I'm not going to. Really pretty colors in there. I'm not going to take them out only because all of that takes up so much time, and I'm really trying to, because I have so many things to show, I really don't want this video to be as long as it potentially could be. And like I said, I'm a talker anyway, so I can't ever seem to just shut up. I talk and talk. Okay, another shooting star. I told you I have a lot. This I actually just worked on last night. This is a flamboyance of flamingos. I'll put a picture in here. This is, again, shooting star, but it's part of a series that Carolyn released last year that are collective nouns. So there's like a flamboyance of flamingos, a flutter of jellyfish. It's whatever a group of that animal is called, and some of them are just really funny. A parade of elephants. I think a lot of people know that one. And then the colors are inspired by that animal. So here's where I am on flamingos. I love, 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 love this one. This one I started with my friend Jaime, Teeny Weeny Stitches, here on Flosstube, and she also is on Instagram. And I got to meet Jaime in person at StitchCon last year, which was a thrill for me. She's just one of my favorite people. And we decided to start this together. And we are also using the same fabric, although this is another piece of fabric from My Vintage Needle Arts on Etsy. This is called Peony, this color. And I'm using the mottled side, and Jaime is using this side, which is plain. It's the same color, but plain. This shop, I believe this is dyed and not printed, but I don't know. It's only on one side, so I'm not sure how they do it. But anyway, I like the modeling. It's not too much, and I thought it set this off really well. But I also like that Jaime and I are using the same fabric but different sides of it. I think that's kind of cool. I love the colors in this, super bright as you can see. Again, this is a 32 count Lugana, and I'm doing 2 strands of floss over 2 threads of the Lugana. And I tend to work on this one because it's just so cheery, like when you're in a bad mood or something, or you need a little cheering up. This is a great one to pick up because of those pinks. Who can be sad thinking about flamingos, right? Okay. Next is my Luca S kit. I do have a picture of this. This is called Roses. And this is a kit. And I'm using all the kit materials, which I believe is 16 count white Aida, and then anchor threads. Luca S kits are very high quality. They're from Europe. And anybody who's used any of the European brands, like they just have very high quality materials. Anchor floss, Zweigart Aida. Anyway, it's beautiful. I got this, actually Luca S reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try one of their kits for free. Of course, yes, please. And they let me even choose that one. So the threads, I'll just show you real quickly. I'm not going to undo them all, but they come like this. I've shown these before. They come on these cards, which are kind of, bobbins. It's like a bunch of bobbins all put together, and they have little holes where you can store the remainder of the length that you've cut, which is super convenient. You can use it just like a bobbin, and because they're flat, like they store pretty easily right in a project bag or whatever. And this is not quite full coverage, but almost. There's just some areas of white at the bottom that aren't stitched, but other than that, it's full coverage. And I just love this. I think it's really looking good. I'll come in a little closer. Like I said, 16 count white Aida, anchor floss. I'm just using what they call for, which is 2 threads or 2 strands of floss over 1 Aida square. I just love this. And this is one that Karla is always trying to stitch me, saying she's always trying to get me to work on more. Full coverage is her main thing, so she loves to see me work on this particular one. And I do love working on it, actually. As far as full coverage goes, it's not, I'm sure you could tell from the picture, even though it's a watercolory look, it's not super confetti heavy. There's lots of areas where you can stitch blocks of color and keep going for a while without having to change colors 10 times and all that. It's very user-friendly. Don't say anything. This is Beachcomber. This will be my next shooting star finish, and I'm hoping for that this year. Well, I'm going to finish this year. You'll see. It's pretty far along. Here's where I am. So, I have a good bit of this done. Probably, I don't know. I don't use Pattern Keeper or anything, so I just estimate. But, somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4, I would say, is finished. I'll come a little closer. The colors in this are just beautiful. Obviously very beachy turquoises and blues and sand colors, just beautiful. And this is on a 32 count light blue Lugana, and I'm using just the called for colors. So stay tuned. At some point there'll be a finish on that. I do try to work on that shooting star Beachcomber more than my other ones to really push it along toward a finish. But I try to work on the other ones too. I want to keep everything going, but I am focusing on that one because I do want to finish it. Okay, next is a picture of this one. This is Remember Me by Teresa Kogut. I think a lot of people are familiar with this. The picture is from when she released it on Patreon, which was in September of 22. This is now a chart she's released, so you can buy it. I just happened to have when I printed it off. I just love this. This is one that I just immediately was smitten as soon as I saw this, and in fact, I think I went out and started it. I bought floss or had floss and started it the same day. Like, I never do that, and I was just, like, I couldn't wait. Okay, and I'm actually pretty far on this, and I love working on it. I was just working on this last night as well. Here's where I am. It's not huge. It's really nice size, actually. This is like my favorite size for a sampler. So this is, I'm stitching this on 37 count linen by Legacy Linens. And as you may know, they have sort of unusual counts for their linens, different than other manufacturers. This color is called Wild Honey, and I don't know, the camera isn't picking it up exactly. The camera's making it look more tan, and it is tan, but it has a distinct pink undertone to it, and I just love it. And I could never remember the name of it, so I actually remembered to go look it up. Wild Honey is what it's called. And of course, what attracted me to this is that border, those fantastic flowers, and I'm pretty close. I'm getting close to that border being done. And then I just have that huge house in the middle and all the rest of it. But I will definitely feel accomplished when that border is finished, because there is a lot of stitching in those flowers. So beautiful, though. I just love that. The pattern is Strawberry Thief, and you'll probably recognize it as a very well-known William Morris design, adapted from one of his textile designs. And this particular pattern is from Whoopicat on Etsy. She's got several William Morris designs. She has a lot of actually interesting designs from artwork that's in the public domain. And if you have not checked out her shop, you should. Whoopicat. So here's where I am. And I'm sorry, let me do this. I think I did this before, and this worked on this. There we go. Then it won't be so see-through. I just love this. So I'm doing a little bit of a less traditional background, I guess. Karla is doing hers, I believe, on a navy background. I don't know if it's linen or Aida. But I wanted to use a dark fabric, but I decided to use this fabric from Bestitch Me. I'm in their fabric club. This is called Blue Moon, and it's 32 count linen. And I would have thought that with this dark of a fabric, I would have had trouble seeing it to stitch on it, but in fact, I have not at all. And Brandy's dyeing process, whatever it is, the linen does not shrink hugely, and I just have no trouble with this. And I just love this. So we're using the DMC. I believe that's what's called for, and I'm using 2 strands over 2 threads of the linen. And if you look at Karla's on Instagram, she started, I believe, in the top center, and I started she started in the top left, which is where I usually start, and I started on the top center, I believe. So you get kind of a different perspective of the same pattern. All right, I'll show you this one. Okay, I mentioned that I had started a new pattern similar to the Stitch Along, Star Touch Meadow Stitch Along from last year. And this is based on similar patterns to those patterns that are there's 4 patterns in each grouping, and they represent the seasons. So what I'll do is I'll put the pictures in while I'm talking about them a little bit. Hopefully you can see. Be able to put all 4 in. So I'm going to do all of these, but I'm arranging them like a quilt. So across the rows I'll have like a spring, summer, fall, winter block. Then the next row will be staggered like you would if you were doing quilt blocks. So I started this on January 1st of this year. So I've got my first, and my goal is 1 block a month, just like it was for the the stitch along. So this will take me more than a year, but that's okay. And I might even do a 5th row across. I haven't decided, but here's where I am. So I have 1 complete. So this is spring right here where my finger is, and then the next block is the first summer block, then the first fall, then the first winter. And then below that that's the next spring block that I'm working on right now. And I'll come in a little closer so you can see some of the colors in those, hopefully. And my fabric is like, it always wants to fold right at that point. I'm not sure why. So I'm stitching this on an 18 count Aida, and this is in a color called Natural, and I'm using all the called for colors. I like this fabric for this, and I just wanted something very neutral because obviously there's a lot of different colors in these designs. But gosh, I really have a hard time on some of these colors seeing them against this. It's like there are numerous colors that blend right into this right into this fabric, even more so than, you know, white on white. I've got white and cream, and some of the very light blues blend right in. So some of this isn't as easy stitching as what I would have expected. I just have to have good light when I stitch on it and concentrate a little bit. Oh, and I even bought myself a project bag for this, and I'll show this to you. Isn't that pretty? It's obviously a Paris print and vinyl front. I don't really use project bags. I don't know. I like everything to be exactly the same. So that's why I just use like the Amazon bags. But I stitch on this every morning, that project, so I decided it deserved a project bag. And if I could remember the name of the shop where I got it, I would, if I can find it, I will run it across the screen. I know I've got it somewhere, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but I'll try to, she does great, beautiful work, so I would highly recommend her. And if I can find it, I'll put it on the screen. Okay, next we've got a sampler. And I do have a picture of this one. This is the lovely Anne Grimshaw, 1818, by the Scarlet Letter. Many, many, many people have stitched this. It's a biggie. I am stitching this on 36 count flax linen by Zweigart, and I'm using Anchor Black for this. And the reason I'm using Anchor Black is because when I started it, which was for Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery, originally started Black Sampler November, excuse me, a couple of years ago. And I started this for that. And at the time, I don't know, floss was still not always easy to get. And all the really nice variegated blacks and silks were sold out everywhere. But I wanted to try something different, and I'd never stitched with Anchor Black, so that's what I'm stitching this on. And I do love this, and I'm down to, I've got more done than, I'm down to the alphabets. I just have once I get the rest of the motifs in that row right above the alphabets filled in, I think there's only a row of motifs on the bottom below the alphabet, so hopefully the rest will I should go a little faster. Sometimes I hesitate to bring this one out only because it's so big. And you know, sometimes you just don't feel like having a big wad of fabric in your lap. I don't know if you feel like that, but I do. So sometimes my great big projects, that's the only reason. I feel like I can't deal with the fabric mass. Okay. Here's one I have a picture of. This is my historic house project. This is the Porter Ash residence. This is by Debbie Patrick. And her patterns are no longer in print, but many of them are still readily available on the secondary market, eBay and Etsy. Sometimes it might be hard to find a particular pattern of hers, but there are lots available if you just want to. She has lots of beautiful ones, like there's some examples right there. And I love this one. I love the blues in it. And Karla is stitching a similar type design from she's in Australia, and there's also a designer that does that did the same thing or does the same thing in Australia. Olga Gostein, I think, and hers mostly come in kits, but Karla's got a number of those patterns. So we started a stitch along for this, which is the Historic Houses SAL, and I'll run that across the screen. Feel free to join us, please, with either one of these patterns or from one of these designers or any other historic house. So here's where I am. You know what? I'm going to do this since I have this huge piece of fabric. There we go. Whoop. Okay, Barb. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I just cannot get over how realistic this looks. I haven't done any back stitching on this yet, which there's tons and tons and tons. And to me, it's still, like, especially from far away, look how realistic that looks. Of course, that's achieved with millions of color changes, as you would expect, but that's okay. This is on a 16 count Aida, and it's a Witchilt, Perman Witchilt Aida, and I forget the color. It's one of their blues. I don't think it's ocean blue. It's kind of a blue-gray color. It's really pretty, and it's perfect for the sky effect in this one. And I purposely chose to stitch this one on Aida because of that, all the back stitching that is required eventually for this pattern. I just feel like lots and lots of back stitching looks better on Aida because you get crisp corners. So that's why I decided to do that. Okay, this is my ink circles. Oops. Cirque de Cercles, or Circus of Circles. And this is part of a series you might be familiar with, Circus of Other Things. She has triangles and hearts and things. Right now I'm doing the circles. And I'll show you the floss in a minute, but okay. Here's where I am. Yeah, this always changes colors on my iPad. When I have it back here, the floss is not really true colors, but the fabric is. So, I don't know. It's weird. This is on a 16 count black Aida. I decided to stitch this on. And I'm using a variegated floss from Dyeing for Cross Stitch, and it's called Earthwalker. And I'll show you that in just a minute. I was just going to say, I usually can't see black linen, I mean, I think other people share that. So, but I found that I can stitch on black Aida, maybe because you sort of find the holes as much as see the holes on Aida. But anyway, here's the floss. You can kind of see the variegation. It's very heavily variegated, obviously goes from distinct color to distinct color. But it's very fun to stitch with. And it's beautiful. The effect is beautiful. Dyeing for Cross Stitch makes some very reasonably priced silks. I highly recommend them. They're a little more fragile than some other silks that I've used, but just take an extra minute when you're working with them and it's fine. This picture is not in color, but that's okay because there's only 4 colors, so I'm just going to show you this. This is Quaker's Pride. This is by the German designer Historische Stickmuster. They've become pretty popular, so I got this off of their website and got the PDF, but I believe the paper copies are also available now from various places. Like I said, they've become very popular. They have some beautiful designs. And there's, like I said, there's only 4 colors: black, gray, there's a white and a red. And here's where I am on that. Quaker's Pride. Sorry for the see-through. I'm actually doing okay on this. This is a pretty big piece. This is 36 count linen, and I believe it's stone gray is the color. And I did end up changing a couple of the flosses that were called for, the DMC colors, and not because I didn't like what they'd chosen, but because when I got the gray linen, I found that the gray that was called for didn't really go with that gray. You know, grays can be really warm or cool. So I picked a different one. So here's the 4 colors that I'm using. And then I think it called for regular DMC white, and I just changed that to 3865, which is one of my favorite DMC whites. But other than that, I'm stitching that with 2 strands of floss over 2 threads of linen. Okay, one more shooting star. This is Squash Blossom. I started this last summer sometime, I think. Here's where I am on that. Oh, I just love all the oranges and golds and beautiful colors in this. This is on a 32 count Lugana, and the color I believe is called Amber. And this was just one I had in my stash. I think I originally was trying to find a yellow for something else, and I ordered a few different yellows, like from 1-2-3 Stitch. And then I didn't use this, and it was just sitting in my stash, and it turned out to be perfect for this. All right, let's hurry this up. I'll save that in a minute. Okay, one more shooting star. At least these are quick to show. This is Cherry Blossom. I also started this last year. And here's where I am on that. Oh, love these colors too. The pinks. Oh, the pinks and reds, and there's some grays in there. Just beautiful. And I believe the Lugana color on this is antique white. I don't think it's white. I think it's antique white, but I could be wrong. I don't know that I have it written down, but I think it's antique white. And again, it's just the 32 count and all the called for colors. I love this. I haven't worked on that one in a while now, and I need to probably get back to that. Got to finish Beachcomber first. Okay. All right, I'm going to just try to show you this real quick. This was, I did the Jingle Ball last year, as I'm sure many of you did, and I took a couple classes, one of them being the Stacy Nash Gingerbread House Sewing Book class, and this is the pattern, or this is the front. And then this is the back. So cute. So cute. And there's instructions, finishing instructions came with the pattern. I know she hasn't released this yet. I don't know if she's going to, but it was a jingle ball pattern, like an exclusive at that time anyway. And here's the threads. Aren't those pretty? This little thread thing is made by my friend Gail, GW Stitch and Depot. She sells these. It's acrylic. It's great. I have stickers on here, but you can also write on here with a marker and just do that. So obviously I did not get this done by Christmas, and I had planned to, but I don't know. It's hard to get a lot of stitching done in December. And then I meant to, finish it up after, but I've got the pattern, I've got the instructions. Obviously I don't have access to the class anymore, but that's okay. The finishing looks like I can handle it. So here's where I am. I think this is a 35 count linen. It was provided in the kit. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's, kind of a gingerbready color. Whoops, that's the true color. It's really pretty. And as I'm sure you could see from that pattern, there's actually a lot of stitching in this. But it's beautiful and fun too, really fun project. So if you haven't done the jingle ball, I highly recommend it. If you actually want to get your project finished before the class date, just depending on what the project is, just plan on devoting enough time to it. I mean, that was probably what my mistake was. I really didn't plan that well, and I didn't think about how much time something like that was going to take to stitch if I really wanted to get it done before Christmas, but that's okay. Okay, one more shooting star. This is my last one I have to show, I think, of the shooting stars. This is Grandma's Lilacs. Put a picture in there. And this one I'm also stitching with Karla, Stitch Me Sane. We started this for Mother's Day a few years ago, or a couple years ago. Here's where I am. Yes, I should have much more of this done since I started it a couple years ago. I don't know why I don't. I love the colors in this. Karla and I both love purples and greens together, so you can see why this would be a favorite. It's just beautiful. So I'm doing this on a 32 count Lugana in, I think this is lavender as the color name, I think. It's just a true lavender. It's really pretty. And I'm using all the called for colors as I am with all the shooting stars. Okay, this is my, I call this my fan favorite. This is Act of God. I'll put a picture in here. Long Dog Samplers. Whenever I show this on Instagram, this gets at least twice the number of views, likes, comments, of anything else I post. So that's why I call it my fan favorite. But here's where I am. This is hard to get true. There, oh, actually, that's pretty good. This is Vintage Country Mocha Linen by Zweigart. So the color isn't coming across exactly, but you're probably familiar with it. This is 40 count. And I'll come in here where you can see, I'll even come up closer. So the big attraction here is this beautiful floss that I'm using, which is from, oh, you're getting something you can see there. It's hard for me to see. From Silks for You, and I will hold up the floss so you can see it. It's very variegated, as you can see, and the colors are all sort of metallics, like earth tones. There's a silver, a slate gray, coppery tones, earth tones, just really, really beautiful floss. And as you may know, Silks for You is an Australian company, and they sell silk by the hank, which is equivalent to around like 28 skeins of DMC. So if you have a big project, it's a super economical way to buy extremely high quality silk. Their silks are absolutely amazing. The color number of that silk, of this silk, is PR 181. Well, I think PR actually means the size of the hank, so I think the color number is 181. And they do have it available in other things besides the big hank. Okay, we're almost done. Okay. Oh, I had another finish I forgot to mention, but it's related to this. So these are the Rosebud Smalls. I'll put a picture in here by Carolyn Manning. And I finished the first one. And the reason I don't have it is because I finished it into a pincushion, and it was my small for the Smalls Exchange at Stitch North Retreat, which was a few weeks ago. So what I will do is put some pictures in of my finish of that. I'll put those in here. I just loved how this came out. I loved the design. It turned out that I stitched that on Ada, and it turned out that Ada was probably not the greatest choice because it was hard to gather up into a pincushion. But other than that, I really like how it came out. So I'm doing the other designs too. So here's the second design in the series. So this is Rosebud number 2. And I started this a couple weeks ago. They're pretty small. They're about 3, on 18 count, which is what this is, they're about 3 by 3. And then made into a ball, to me, that's like perfect for a pincushion. They always seem a little bigger than 3 by 3, but they're not. And the really pretty rosy pinks and greens color palette. So I do plan to stitch all 3 of those. I'm not sure if I'm going to make them all into pincushions or what I'm going to do, but love those. Okay, and then here's my last WIP to show you. This is called Love Letter, and this is by Susan Aki. She's Yard Girl. I'll put a picture here. I think she's Yard Girl on Instagram, and I think on Flosstube too. This is a free pattern that's available from the Fat Quarter Shop, and she charted this for Aurifil floss. I ended up choosing something different simply because I sort of got inspired by this fabric that I had in my stash, and I wanted to start for Valentine's Day, so that's when I started this. So here's my creation. The fabric is obviously the star of the show here. This is one of my Bestitch Me fabrics from Brandy. This is called Punch, or either Punch or Fruit Punch. I think it's Punch. And it's crazy pinks and purples, but somehow they just work, and I just love it. And I'm using 2 flosses, I think DMC 33 and 35, that are close in color but not exactly the same. One's a little darker, and so I'm going to have some bands that are a little bit darker than others. I'm sorry for the see-through. Well, here, I can do this a minute. Forgot on this one I can do this. But when I saw this fabric, you know, I thought it was kind of too crazy for me. And it's wilder than what I usually do, but hey. Sometimes I like to step outside my stitching box, and that's always a good thing for anybody to do. And this is that's 32 count linen, as I said, from Bestitch Me. I'm in Brandy's Fabric Club and love everything I've gotten. Some of her stuff is a little too wild for me, but that's okay. I can always find something to do with it, or give it away, or sell it, or you know, whatever. There are a couple pieces that maybe I can not see myself using. But surprisingly, I've ended up using pieces that I might have at first thought were a little too crazy for me. Okay, that's all my WIPs. And I am just about at an hour, so that is not too horrible. I thought it was going to be longer than that, so yay. Okay, well, tomorrow's Mother's Day, so if you are a mother or you have a mother-like role to someone, happy Mother's Day to you. I'm not sure what we're doing. I know we're having pizza for dinner because that was Mom's request. And my son ordered a carrot cake for me, my other request. So yay. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and until we meet again, just try to remember to slow down and take life one stitch at a time. See you soon. Bye.